I'm in my 19th year, and I'll tell you a little story. When I was interviewed for this position here in this building, it happened to be the first time that I had been to the Salvation Army in the building itself. And I learned quickly, though, that the building had been here since 1961 in the current location at 50 East King Street. And then I learned that prior to that they had been located on West Market Street. And every time I saw a picture of the old Salvation Army, I tried to picture that on West Market Street, and I could never find it. Then I discovered that the Schaefer Flower Shop had redone the facade of that building after buying the building from the Salvation Army back in the late 50s, and they had redone that facade, so that's why I was never able to locate the prior Salvation Army building, which had been the Salvation Army building since about 1928. We go back to 1889 when they first came here to York, and that was really missionary days. The Salvation Army came to the United States only in 1880. So even by 1889, when the first Salvation Army officers came to York, they were still missionaries. A lot of people had never heard of the Salvation Army. They didn't know what it was all about. And so they came, and they primarily came as preachers. They were street preachers. They did open-air meetings. They were preaching the Word of God. And we're told stories that when they first started, they met in the old hall, the Oddfellows Hall, on the corner of South George and King Street. And they would sometimes have 1,000 people come to their prayer meetings. So that's fantastic history. And we've been here in York since then.
And that makes us among the oldest corps in the U.S. The local corps are autonomous, and that positions them to respond to local needs. So I think when you look at the programs at York, how they've evolved over 125 years, you see clearly the perennial compassion for folks who are struggling with poverty and related issues. So we have family services, youth services, and of course a lot of people are aware of the disaster response and that capability of the Salvation Army and its DNA to respond quickly to emergencies. So I think that's kind of the general shape of the programs that we have today.
Right. And Michelle mentions the autonomy of the local Salvation Armies, and I think then that reflects on the support and the enthusiasm that the local community puts behind the Salvation Army.
Right.
So if we look at the Salvation Army in York and compare it to Salvation Army operations in many other cities, some of them much larger than York, we do not see the extent of the services, the programs, the presence of the Salvation Army in those places that we see here in York. And that's really due to the involvement and the participation and the support of the local community, our board members who have just, their hearts are in what we are doing in terms of reaching out to the poor, the needy members of our community. So that's really a tribute to their dedication and to their compassion.
Have a great day.
Yep, you too.
Thank
You
you.
too, ma'am. Yep.